Hey there, welcome to my channel. I'm Kristen from ISeeStarsQuilting.com, and check out this adorable gift bag that I just made. It's so cute. I'm gonna show you step by step how to make that today. Even if you've never made a bag before, this project is really great for beginners. It goes fairly quickly, and when I say it's easy, I mean you can make multiples of these really fast, kind of like assembly line style, and get a bunch of gifts knocked out really quickly. I'm gonna be honest, my first thought for these gift bags when I started making them was for my kids' teachers. I like to do something small on most of the holidays just to say, hey, I remember you, I love you, I appreciate you, so thankful for you teaching math to my kids. Whoever. Okay, these gifts work for everybody. You could also make these for grandkids or your own kids really easy too. So the cool thing about these bags is they're not very big. Look at the finished product of these bags. They're not really big, so you don't have to spend a lot of money or time to fill them up, right? I'm gonna put in a coffee gift card. I'm gonna put in a couple things of chocolate, some really good chocolate, because I love good chocolate. And then I'm gonna tuck in a little thank you note that just says, I love you, I appreciate you, I'm thinking of you. Now, I'm gonna show you step by step in this video how to make these bags. The tools that you're going to need, I'm gonna list these out right now, okay? The tools that you're gonna need is a 6" by 7" piece of fabric, okay? You're gonna need 2 of those for the outside of the bag, 2 of those for the lining of the bag, and then you're going to need 2 pieces that are 6" by 7" for interfacing. I like using interfacing. It is optional on this project, but because of the way that the bag folds, I like the added stability that the interfacing does add to it, but I use a really light interfacing too. So if for some reason you're like, I don't have any interfacing, I can't do this project, just skip it, okay? Keep going, all right? Just skip it and move on. But for this, you are gonna see me use an interfacing on there. It's a really light interfacing. You're also going to need a 3" ribbon or an elastic of some sort. You can use that as well. I like ribbon just because it's easy and I have it on hand. And then you're going to need a button and a hand sewing kit. Simple. And your sewing machine. I forgot that. You're gonna need your sewing machine. And then if you wanna go, okay, this is totally optional, but if you wanna go above and beyond a little bit, you can see in the example pictures that I have right here of the finished bags that I did a little bit of embellishing on these bags. I added just a little something to it to make it a little bit extra, because extra is always fun, right? So you can add beads, you can do some felt or wool, you can add some little 3D embellishments, you can do some hand sewing on these, you can add your own little tags to the side like I did. Do whatever you want to make it fun and just a little bit extra. They're really adorable even without all the extra add-on things, okay? So you're gonna love it. Let's get started. Okay, here is the very first prep step. I like to have all of my pieces already put together. It makes it easier just to gather, especially if I'm making several of these. You can make this in kind of, like I said, almost like an assembly line steps where you do all of the ironing, all of the cutting, you know, all of that in different steps. And then by the end, you're doing the same step over and over again, which makes it so easy to do a whole bunch of these at the same time. So I have a cute little button, nothing special. I have a ribbon. I like to cut this about 3 inches. This one's really long. So you don't need something this long, but something about 3 inches, 3.5 inches max is gonna be just fine for you. And then I have 2 pieces of this X's and O's fabric and 2 of this lovely floral print. So I think I'm going to make this be the outside and this be the inside. And so put your inside fabric or your lining fabric to the side, and then I've got my interfacing here. I'm gonna do 1 piece at a time. So this is my exterior fabric. I'm gonna put it right side down, and then I'm gonna grab one of my pieces of interfacing. Interfacing has two sides to it, okay? So whenever you're working with it, you got to kind of look at it. One side is a little bit shinier than the other. Do you see that, that little shimmer right there? And it's very smooth. The other side still has a little bit of shine, but not quite as much, and it's kind of got a little bit of a rougher texture. Think of these little rough textures as like glue dots, okay? We're gonna line this up with my outer exterior fabric, get it all on there with the bumpy side down, okay? Now, I'm going to press this, and then I'm going to come off it and I'm going to move. If you slide side to side like this, what you're doing is you're melting that glue and then you're moving that glue, which can mess up where you place your interfacing. So make sure, also I just saw this one is dangerously close to my iron, which is my other piece of interfacing. I'm gonna put that over here. So make sure you're not moving side to side. Just go up and down and move around, and then allow that to kind of cool as you're going, okay? So you can melt that interfacing glue and pick up and move, and then I'm going to set that aside and I'm going to work on the other piece. Again, get that pretty close. This one is cut a little bit shorter, but that's okay. If your interfacing is not perfect, that's okay. This is just going to give that bag a little bit of stability, like I said, because we're going to put some little corners on the bag, which are going to allow it to kind of stand up just a little bit, and this interfacing will help with that. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to mark 1/4 of an inch. Actually, let's do 1/2 of an inch. 1/2 of an inch in this bottom corner right here. And then I'm going to do 1/2 of an inch in this bottom corner. See this little mark right here and right here? This is going to be the bottom of my bag. So if you're working with directional fabric, make sure you're doing it on the bottom side of your bag. Then you're going to do the same thing to all 4 pieces, your lining and your exterior pieces. You're going to do this little 1/2 inch on the bottom of your bag. Now, this is really a simple step, okay? So don't let this overwhelm you. I'll show you what to do when we get there. Right now, we're just marking that little 1/2 inch and setting it aside to grab the others. So one at a time, mark that little 1/2 inch. I've got one of my Creative Notions rulers here. This is super, super handy for this step. I love these little bitty rulers. The next thing that you're going to do on all 4 pieces that you have is cut out that little 1/2 inch that we just marked. Take some good fabric scissors and cut out that little 1/2 inch. That's going to be scrap fabric. You don't need to keep that, okay? Cut out that little bitty square on all 4 pieces. Ta-da! Okay. All 4 of them have the little notches cut out. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take your 2 outer pieces, put one of them print side up, the other one print side down. It's going to be helpful to have a few of these sewing clips around, okay, just to make things easy. Put a couple pins in it to where the fabric doesn't shift or move while you're sewing. I like to do these 2 sides and then one here in the middle to make sure that it stays where it is. Okay, then we're going to take our 2 lining pieces and we're going to do the same. One of them right side up, the other one right side down. And the same thing, we're going to pin the sides together so it doesn't shift around while we're sewing. You can also, I say pin as I clip, but you can also use pins if that's more comfortable. I like the clips, but you can also totally use pins. Okay, I've got a little bit better view so you can see here. Okay, so this is my lining piece. I'm gonna take this to the sewing machine and using a 1/4 inch seam, I'm gonna stitch here. I'm gonna back stitch just a little bit to set in my seam, and I'm gonna stitch a 1/4 inch seam all the way down here, okay? All the way off. Then I'm gonna come back here and I'm gonna stitch here, back stitch, but I'm going to make this mark right here and right here, because I want to leave a space in the middle right here so I don't sew over this. So I'm gonna sew here to here, and I'm gonna sew here to here. And then here, I'm gonna sew all the way up. Make sure you back stitch at both sides. That's on the lining, okay? On the exterior piece, you're gonna sew from top all the way to bottom. You're gonna sew all the way across, and then you're gonna sew all the way on this side too, okay? You don't need to leave that space in here. You need to go ahead and sew all the way across. The reason we're leaving this space in the middle here is so that we can turn our bag out in a minute, and I will show you how that looks. But right now, just know that you leave a little bit of space there. I'm gonna take this to my sewing machine and go ahead and get things stitched. When it comes to this exterior piece, you may want to put in a label that has your name or made with love or something exciting on the tag that ties it back to you. This is where you're going to want to put that step in. I like to use these little ribbon labels, and they just fold in half and they stick into my quilt bindings or, you know, wherever I decide to put them. On this project, I like to put it on my bag, so I'm going to slip it on the inside of my two pieces where the right sides are, and I'm going to put it down on the side, kind of close to the bottom. And then I'm going to stick a little clip over there so I can make sure that I remember when I get there. This one we're gonna sew from all the way to the top to the bottom, across the base on the bag, and then all the way from the top to the bottom on the opposite side, making sure to back stitch at the very start and end of your stitching. Because I have this little tag right here that I added in here with my information on it, I just went ahead and I backstitched just a little bit to give it a little bit more strength in that stitch. Now I'm going to go across the bottom. And that piece is completely done. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take care of these corners. You can put your hand inside the bag and turn these corners just like this. What you're looking for is you want these pieces to line up. Okay? It's a teeny tiny little spot there. But I like to take a clip and put it right there. So I kind of pushed open those seams with my fingers. You can go through this step and do the ironing on these seams to get them open, but you know what? I don't like doing that. So I'm skipping the ironing part. If you're very particular about that and you want those ironed and you want them to be perfect, go ahead. Iron them all up, okay? I'm not against ironing. I just don't like doing it. So what you have is you have your little bag with your corners pinched. I want you to take your interior lining piece and do the same. I'm putting my hand inside the bag, pushing my finger out of that corner right there so that I can get these seams lined up. Okay, sometimes the pieces don't want to open up really easy, but it lays flatter if you have those seams pushed open. The next part we're going to sew is across this box corner. I like to do still a 1/4 inch seam all the way across, but once you've got these seams lined up, what you do is you kind of hold back here and let the machine do the pulling. So I'm going to put this down flat on my machine right here, and then I'm going to run it through my sewing machine at a 1/4 inch seam right here. And I do like to backstitch over that just a little bit. Again, we want to reinforce those corners, make sure they don't come open anytime soon. Okay, same with this one. Make sure these seams, you can kind of feel in here where those seams are lining up, and then put it through your sewing machine at another 1/4 of an inch. And there are our cute little box corners. Now I'm going to do the exterior ones. For the next step, I'm going to take my exterior panel and I'm going to turn it right side out. You're going to see how cute your little corners are, these little box corners that we sewed right there. I like to take my finger, or you can take like a chopstick or something similar, and kind of push those out to where they're nice and boxed. You see my nice cute little tag on there that came out. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, then I'm going to take my exterior and I'm going to put it inside my interior. Okay, so we're putting right sides are together here. Doesn't matter exactly which way it goes, but you want to kind of cram it in there. Kind of evenly if you can, where you're going to want to line up. The first thing I do is I line up where this seam is on the side and where the seam is on my interior. And I like to nest those seams. If you haven't seen my video on nesting seams, I'm going to put a link across the top of the screen here. That is a really, really helpful thing to know if you are needing some basic sewing skills, how to nest your seams. That means basically my seam right on top is going this way and my seam on the bottom is going this way, thus nesting it and making it really easy to make those line up so they won't shift as much while I'm sewing over that. Okay, then I'm going to go over to the other side and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put a clip right where those seams line up to keep it in place. And then you just kind of have to like shake things up a little bit to make sure that the fabric is evenly distributed. With the bag this size, you really don't need a whole lot of clips. 4 is about all you need. So I have one on each side like that. And then I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew all the way around the top. Okay. One thing I almost forgot, and I knew I was going to forget it, that's why I put it on top of my sewing machine, is I'm going to need to put my ribbon so that it will attach to the button, okay? So I'm going to make this ribbon at about 3 inches. Let's go a little bit more generous and do 3.5 inches. I know I have a lot of ribbon here, but I'm going to do 3.5 inches. So when you're doing this and you're adding all of these up, making sure that they're in the right spots, right? I'm going to fold my ribbon piece like this where it's not twisted on top, but the 2 ends are just about at the right height, okay? I'm going to put it inside my bag and I'm going to hold it tight there at the top and pull my other piece to it and make sure that a clip holds it in place so that I can sew it. See that? So inside is my ribbon. It's pointing down. If I can show you inside, I would, but the ribbon is like right here pointing down, okay? That is going to be what is going to loop onto my button and keep our cute little bag closed. So I'm going to start on the side without the ribbon and start putting this into my sewing machine, sewing 1/4 of an inch all the way around the top of the bag. Now that my bag is all sewn, there's just a couple little final steps left. Remember that section in the base and the lining that we did not sew? This is where this comes in handy. Reach in there and you're going to pull out the exterior of your bag all the way through. And in the process, you're going to be turning the lining right side out. While you're doing this, make sure you can kind of poke into those corners to get those right. And then you can hand stitch this little piece right here closed. Since I like doing things fast, I'm going to just pop it on the machine while I have it right here and do a little quick stitch at the very, very base of that piece. Those threads need to be trimmed, but because this is going to be in the inside of the bag, nobody's ever going to see that. The next and final step is adding the interior to your bag. And then figuring out where you want to put your button. I have this button here, so I'm going to guesstimate about right there. Right almost on top of that flower is where I want my button, so that when I close this, it's just like this. And this cute little gift bag is ready to go. I do like to hand sew on the button, but you also have, so your little piece will go around your button. Let's do this. It'll go around your button and your cute little gift bag is just like this. It's big enough for a gift card, some little treats, some candy, a note, and everything's perfect. You also have this space on the back if you wanted to hand stitch on a cute little label. You could put a little note or like a little poem or a quilt label or something on there that tells the owner just a little something special, right? That's it. Pretty adorable, right? I mean, these bags are so cute, okay? And I know I made this a DIY Valentine's gift bag, but just think about the possibilities. Could these be for your sewing group? Could you put a few extra little like sewing gadgets in them? You could easily make this work for any holiday out there and it would be so adorable. So use this as a starting point. But if you are looking for some last minute Valentine's ideas that aren't going to break the bank and just allow you to show a little bit of love without a whole lot of money in the bank, pull out some of your red fabrics, pull out some of your pink fabrics. They don't even have to be like Valentine fabrics if you want to go that far. Pull them out, use them, make these little things. Make sure you leave a comment down below. Tell me how it went for you. I'd love to know. Tell me if you're planning on making these. I have lots more tips, tricks, and tutorials for modern quilting and sewing coming on my channel. Please do me a favor, make sure you hit that subscribe button, okay? It means the world to me that you are loving the tutorials that I share and that you're subscribed to my channel. Make sure you hit that like button and I will talk to you soon. I'm Kristen with ISeeStarsQuilting.com. I'll talk to you soon. Happy Valentine's Day.